Most people have no idea that one simple morning habit could be silently destroying their metabolism, raising their blood sugar, and pushing them closer to insulin resistance even if they think they eat healthy. And the shocking part is that this damage often begins before you even finish your first cup of tea or coffee. Imagine waking up every day believing your body is burning energy, cleaning up sugars, and repairing itself, while in reality your cells are stuck in a metabolic traffic jam that keeps insulin high, blocks fat burning, and makes your hunger uncontrollable. The truth is that millions of people unknowingly start their mornings in a way that spikes glucose, overstimulates insulin, and forces the body into storing mode instead of healing mode, and yet almost nobody talks about the timing and composition of the very first thing you eat. But what if the real secret to shutting down insulin resistance and resetting your metabolic switches has nothing to do with dieting all day, cutting carbs aggressively, or starving yourself, and everything to do with a powerful protein trick performed before 8 a.m. that naturally stabilizes blood sugar and flips your body into metabolic balance? When you understand why the first meal of the day is like pressing the master reset button on your hormones, your appetite, and your energy, you stop guessing and start using science to work with your body instead of against it. For years, people were told that willpower, small portions, avoiding fats, or skipping breakfast would help with glucose control, yet the opposite has happened, with more individuals experiencing cravings, afternoon crashes, belly fat storage, and unexplained fatigue. Insulin resistance doesn't show up suddenly. It slowly builds when insulin stays elevated too long, when muscles stop responding to glucose, and when your morning meal teaches your body the wrong metabolic pattern. But here is where the morning protein trick becomes almost like a secret cheat code for stabilizing your blood sugar without complicated diets. Because when you give your body high-quality protein early in the morning, especially before 8 a.m., you activate hormones that slow glucose release, improve insulin sensitivity, and reduce cravings for the rest of the day. This timing is powerful because your circadian rhythm primes your metabolism to process protein more efficiently in the early hours, meaning your body can use amino acids to repair cells, give you steady energy, and support muscle activity that boosts insulin response. You begin to feel full longer. Your cravings for sugar naturally drop, and your brain feels sharper because the morning protein sends a signal that stabilizes dopamine levels and reduces the urge to snack. Even people who think they're eating clean often make the same mistake by starting their day with only carbs, like bread, cereal, pastries, or fruit, thinking these choices are light and healthy, when in reality these foods create a quick glucose spike that keeps insulin elevated for hours. Once that spike hits, your body becomes more reactive to food all day, meaning even small meals can trigger high insulin responses that store fat and block metabolic flexibility. But when protein comes first, and especially when it is consumed early, your body slows down the absorption of everything you eat afterward, creating a metabolic buffer that protects you from roller coaster glucose spikes. You feel calmer, more satisfied, and far more in control of your appetite. And this simple shift begins breaking the cycle of insulin resistance, gradually and naturally. It is not about eating a huge breakfast or forcing yourself into rigid routines. It is about understanding biological timing and giving your metabolism what it needs at the moment it can use it best. Millions of people wake up every day with morning inflammation, a sluggish liver, or unstable hormones without realizing the first food they choose sets the tone for their entire metabolic day. When you start with protein, you reduce stress on the pancreas, you support insulin transport into the cells, and you teach your body to burn energy cleanly instead of storing it. Most importantly, this method does not depend on extreme restrictions, diet pills, or expensive supplements, and it works regardless of age, weight, or activity level because it relies on your natural metabolic rhythm. The morning protein trick is not a trend. It is a metabolic principle rooted in how the body is designed to regulate insulin, support muscle, and balance hormones from the moment you wake up. Once you learn to use it consistently, your energy rises, your appetite stabilizes, and your body finally begins to respond in the way you always hoped it would. What makes this simple morning protein method even more powerful is how deeply it influences the hormonal chain reaction that unfolds during the first few hours after waking, because your body is more sensitive to dietary signals in the morning than at any other time of day. When you open your eyes, cortisol naturally rises to wake you up and release stored glucose into the bloodstream. And if the first thing you eat is high in carbohydrates or sugar, that cortisol-driven glucose mixes with the new sugar from your meal and creates a double spike that overwhelms your cells. This is one of the hidden reasons so many people feel shaky, hungry, or irritable soon after eating breakfast, even if they ate what they believe to be a normal morning meal. But the moment you prioritize protein, something dramatically different happens inside your body. Protein slows digestion, steadies glucose movement, and sends a powerful message to your muscles to increase glucose uptake so your insulin levels do not surge. It activates hormones like GLP-1 and PYY, which help suppress appetite naturally, providing stable energy instead of the rapid rush and crash triggered by sugary or carb-heavy breakfasts. The beauty of this process is that it builds metabolic stability hour by hour, which means your lunch becomes easier to control, your afternoon cravings weaken, and your body becomes far less reactive to stress. Many people do not realize how much emotional and mental stress worsens insulin resistance because stress hormones push glucose into the bloodstream, and when insulin is already overstimulated, the cells can no longer keep up. But when you use the morning protein strategy consistently, you strengthen metabolic flexibility, giving your cells a better chance to respond properly even when stress levels fluctuate. Over time, this leads to steadier moods, improved concentration, and a calmer appetite rhythm that feels completely different from the chaotic hunger patterns created by carb-first mornings. Another overlooked benefit is that early protein intake supports muscle health, and muscle is the number one organ that determines how efficiently your body uses glucose. When you maintain healthy, active muscles, you improve insulin sensitivity naturally because muscle tissue absorbs more glucose than any other part of the body. The problem is that many adults unintentionally lose muscle as they age because they don't consume enough protein early in the day when the body is most primed for muscle protein synthesis. By eating protein before 8 a.m., you feed your muscles at the exact time they are most responsive, and this small shift has a compounding effect on your insulin levels throughout the day. The body begins to burn energy more cleanly, store less fat, and utilize glucose more efficiently, and people often notice changes in their appetite long before they notice changes on the scale. It becomes easier to ignore snacks, sugary cravings become dull and distant, and the feeling of constant hunger fades away. This is not because of willpower, but because your hormones finally start moving in the right direction. Once your metabolism begins to reset, your liver experiences less pressure as well, because the liver is responsible for managing excess glucose and converting it into fat when insulin stays high. When your insulin stays balanced thanks to early protein intake, your liver can finally catch up, break down stored fats, and support better metabolic outcomes overall. Another fascinating part of this method is how it works even for people who have struggled with prediabetes, stubborn belly fat, or energy crashes for years. When your body receives the right metabolic cue at the start of the day, your hormones become more predictable and your glucose curves stabilize. This is why so many people who try the morning protein trick report feeling more energetic without drinking extra coffee, more satisfied without overeating, and more mentally clear without relying on sugar. It is like shifting your body from reactive mode to balanced mode, and the difference becomes more noticeable with each passing morning. You will feel it when you wake up less bloated. You will feel it when you stop experiencing the heavy crash after meals. You will feel it when your cravings lose power and your hunger feels steady instead of wild. Most importantly, you begin to realize just how much your morning routine controls your entire metabolic day. And once you understand that, you gain a level of control over your health that no restrictive diet or complicated meal plan can ever match. The morning protein timing is simple, effective, and naturally aligned with how your metabolism is designed to function. And using it consistently is often the first step that helps people finally break free from the cycle of rising insulin, stubborn cravings, and chronic fatigue. As this protein before 8 a.m. method becomes part of your routine, you start noticing how your entire day feels more balanced, because stabilizing insulin early creates a ripple effect that influences every system connected to energy, hunger, and fat storage. One of the most powerful shifts people experience is the sudden disappearance of the mid-morning crash, that heavy slump where energy drops and cravings surge because your body is no longer trapped in the roller coaster created by early carbohydrate spikes. Instead, your metabolism glides in a steady rhythm, fuel is released gradually, and the brain receives a continuous flow of nutrients that improves focus, motivation, and clarity. This stable morning foundation even helps you make better food choices later in the day without forcing yourself. Because when insulin stays controlled, something remarkable happens. Your brain stops sending emergency hunger signals and your body stops demanding sugar to compensate for unstable glucose. You realize you no longer need constant snacking because your appetite aligns with real hunger instead of hormonal chaos. And when your appetite becomes predictable, weight management becomes simpler, not because you are dieting, but because your body finally understands how to regulate itself. Another surprising benefit of eating protein early is how it improves your digestive system. When insulin levels stay balanced, inflammation lowers, the gut absorbs nutrients more efficiently, and your body stops reacting so aggressively to meals. Many people experience less bloating, fewer digestive discomforts, and better bathroom regularity simply because their body is no longer overwhelmed by glucose spikes that cause gut-level stress. The hormones activated by protein also have a calming effect on the digestive tract, helping you feel lighter and more comfortable throughout the day. And the improvements don't stop at hunger and digestion. Your sleep rhythm strengthens because stable glucose during the day reduces nighttime cortisol spikes that can interrupt deep sleep. You wake up feeling a bit more refreshed, making it easier to start your morning strongly again. This cycle becomes a loop that reinforces itself. Better morning habits lead to steadier days, and steadier days support deeper sleep, which makes the next morning even more effective. Over time, this is how insulin resistance begins to reverse. It doesn't happen in a sudden dramatic moment. It happens in the quiet consistency of giving your body the right metabolic signal at the right time. And that is why this method works for people of all ages, regardless of their schedule, because the body responds to circadian cues, whether you are extremely active or mostly sedentary. The key is not just the protein, but the timing. Before 8 a.m., the metabolism is more sensitive, the muscles are more receptive, and the digestive system is more efficient, meaning the same meal eaten later in the day has a completely different metabolic impact. Eating protein early helps reduce insulin resistance hours before potential triggers set in, creating a protective buffer that lasts well into the afternoon and evening. People often underestimate how much this timing matters, believing that calories or macros are all that count, but insulin operates in a rhythm, and ignoring that rhythm is what keeps many individuals stuck. When you finally sync your meals to your body's natural hormonal flow, you unlock the metabolic environment needed for healing, fat burning, and long-term energy control. The shift becomes so noticeable that even your mood feels different. Stable insulin supports stable dopamine, which reduces stress-driven cravings and emotional eating. You become less reactive, less irritable, and less controlled by sudden hunger urges. The brain fog that once felt normal starts to lift, making everyday tasks easier and bringing back the mental steadiness that high insulin levels silently steal. And because early protein intake supports muscle health, it indirectly boosts metabolism around the clock. Stronger muscles burn more glucose at rest, meaning your body works in your favor even when you are not exercising. This turns into a steady metabolic advantage that builds each week. You may find that your clothes fit differently, your belly feels less swollen, and your energy lasts longer without needing snacks or caffeine boosts. And perhaps the most empowering part of all is realizing that such a dramatic change came from one simple shift instead of strict diet plans or overwhelming lifestyle overhauls. This gives people confidence because they finally see evidence that their body can change, respond, and improve. Once you understand how powerful this small morning trick is, you begin to see food differently, not as an enemy or a stressful decision, but as a tool that shapes your hormones, your mood, and your energy. You begin to trust your metabolism again, knowing that each morning you reset your body in the direction of health, stability, and long-term control. This sense of progress builds motivation naturally and makes it easier to stay consistent because you are no longer forcing yourself to follow a plan. You are simply responding to the positive changes your body is giving back. As this morning PR, OTing technique becomes a natural part of your lifestyle. You begin to understand that the body is not working against you, but simply responding to the signals you give it every morning. And once those signals become consistent, you unlock a level of metabolic stability you may have never experienced before. You start noticing that the cravings that once felt uncontrollable no longer hold the same power over you because your insulin levels stay balanced and your appetite stops sending emergency signals that push you toward overeating. You might also notice subtle improvements in your skin, your energy, and even your confidence. Because when metabolic stress decreases, inflammation lowers, hormonal balance strengthens, and the body begins to release the heaviness it has been carrying for years. Many people don't realize that insulin resistance isn't just about weight or sugar. It affects mood, energy, sleep, inflammation, and even how you respond emotionally to daily stress. When you start your day with protein before 8 a.m., you are essentially telling your body that it can stop panicking, stop storing, and stop fighting to stabilize itself because it is finally receiving the slow, steady fuel it needs to operate smoothly. This means your pancreas works less, your liver stays calmer, your muscles become more efficient, and your brain feels clearer throughout the day. Over time, this creates a ripple effect that reaches areas of your health you didn't even associate with metabolism. Your afternoons feel lighter because you don't crash. Your evenings feel calmer because your hormones are more balanced. You sleep deeper because your blood sugar is controlled, and you wake with more clarity because your system is not overloaded with circulating glucose. These improvements build on each other, forming a cycle of stability that supports long-term metabolic healing. And the best part is that this shift is not draining, complicated, or stressful. It is a simple, doable, repeatable habit that transforms the internal environment your body works in every day. This is why so many people who struggled for years with confusion, frustration, and discouragement around their metabolism finally feel hope when they understand the power of morning protein timing. They realize their body was never broken, it was just waiting for the right cue. And when that cue is delivered before 8 a.m., everything becomes easier. You make healthier choices naturally because your appetite is calm. You feel more in control because your cravings no longer dictate your decisions. You experience steady energy because your body isn't stuck in a roller coaster of spikes and crashes. These changes are small at first, but they grow stronger with consistency, and eventually you feel the difference in every part of your day. Your body begins to respond like it was always meant to, with stability, efficiency, and balance. And once you experience this shift for yourself, you understand that you have more power over your metabolic health than you were ever told. This gives you a sense of confidence because you finally know that you are not relying on luck, chance, or temporary diets. You are using your biology in the way it was designed to be used. And now, as you stand at the end of this information-packed journey, the next step is completely in your hands. If this video helped you understand your metabolism better, if it opened your eyes to how one small morning change can transform your energy, your appetite, and your insulin levels, then this is your moment to stay connected and continue learning with us. And this is where the call to action becomes incredibly important because your support helps this channel grow so we can bring you more life-changing content just like this. So, take 1 second right now and hit that subscribe button, because when you subscribe, you stay connected to every new video that can help you improve your health and your life. And don't forget to like this video as well, because your like pushes this information further so more people who are struggling with insulin resistance can finally find the solution they've been looking for. And make sure you turn on the bell notification, because the moment you activate that bell, you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. And you will be among the first to access the next powerful method that can help you transform your metabolism, your energy, and your long-term health. So subscribe, like the video, tap the bell, and stay with us on this journey, because your healthier, stronger, more energized life truly begins the moment you decide to take action.